We are on with the legendary Daddy Mopa. It is great to have you, sir. Welcome to the American Red Devils. How are things going on your neck of the woods? You're in London. How is everything?
Things are great. So sweet after that Anfield victory. It's dark and gray, but we're used to this kind of weather.
Indeed, it's been dark and gray at Manchester United recently, more than even today. Where is your head out around this team at the moment? We were talking about Amorim might be on the chopping block. He still might be. And then all of a sudden we get that huge win at Anfield. So, where's your head at?
It's 50-50. So pre-Anfield, dark and gloomy. I mean pre the last two wins, right? It's been dark and gloomy. I've been like, should I be Amrim out or in? That's where I've actually been because it's gotten to a point where the results were the same, the performance was the same, and we're like, something has to change. And suddenly, these last two victories has just kind of, confused me a bit. The Anfield win has put me I'm in cloud nine right now. I'm just like over the moon. And the back-to-back victories, the first time in a long time, 2 years, I think, first time for him. So right now, I'm 50-50, and I need to see what happens with Brighton. This is great. We're over the moon, don't get me wrong. But we need to see if this is just a one-off or is it gonna continue, you know?
We've had our hearts broken before, even with this manager coming off a high. What were your thoughts after last year, right after the final? The disappointing, obviously his tenure, right? He didn't get back-to-back wins until last weekend. What were your thinkings in general heading into the summer, and just whether we should stick or twist with Ruben Amorim?
Well, it was pretty. I was. Oh, you had to remind me of that dark and gloomy. I gave a few weeks off football. I didn't want to look at anything, but I knew we had to stick with him because if we were gonna sack him, we should have done it way before the final. So everybody was agreeing he's staying. So it was all guns blazing on transfers. We need to invest and we need to clear out. Cleared out about five or six. I was like, great. So the transfer window was great. I think he focused a bit too much on the offense because we needed a bit in the middle. Not a bit, a lot. So I would probably say I was 80% happy with the transfer window, but midfield, Baleba coming would have been great, or someone else in the midfield to play with, I don't know, Mainu or Garte or something, and free up Bruno to be positioned elsewhere. So I was really happy with that. I was over the moon with the transfer window. I was excited with him getting a preseason, and I was ready to rock and roll. So end of last season, I was just like reset, rip everything apart, let's go again. That's how I honestly felt.
And let's talk about those transfers. You talked about going heavy on the offense, absolutely, in the number of attackers they bought. They bought three. Your pick of the litter. Who's your favorite of them? And then are there any players that you think we should have prioritized beyond the kind of the four real senior recruits that we brought in over the summer?
I think my favorite is Mbuemo. Now it's kind of hard to decide between Cunha and Mbuemo, but I think Mbuemo because he's all more all round than Cunha in terms of consistency of performance. We know he's gonna run. We know he's gonna create chances. We know we're gonna get a similar level of performance every game. We know he's gonna defend. Whereas Cunha is more like a, I don't know, your game winner or game changer, but he could have a game where he's nowhere to be seen. As if you ever watched him in Wolves, he could disappear one game and you don't see him. Whereas Mbuemo, you always get the same. So I really loved Mbuemo. And I would probably say then Cunha is the second favorite. But my next favorite is the goalkeeper. Buying a goalkeeper and watching him every time he jumped out to punch the ball, I was just like, yes, that's what we need. Seeing him push people and just be aggressive, I was just like, and not be bullied. And I was just like, we're no longer thinking about that. We're no longer talking about, oh, he's made a mistake or what's going to happen with the keeper on corners or set pieces. So I'll probably say those are my top three transfers. The two offensive and the goalkeeper. But I was gutted that we couldn't get Baliba. Is that how you pronounce it? Baliba? Yeah.
Depends.
Yeah.
You don't want to come to the American Devils for like, hard rules about pronunciation. That's not our expertise. Any players
Yeah.
that we moved out that you would have liked to see get another run at it, that you think maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of last summer?
None at all. They all had to go. And not necessarily because they're not good players, just because the relationship wasn't working. The number one that had to go was Rashford. And the reason for that was he's been abused. He's taken a lot of heat, but also mentally he just hasn't been there. And Man United is a tough place to be, and we don't need that right now. So it was important to get him out the way and his wages. And then I would say Sancho as well. Oh, that was just a complete car crash and disaster. So I think Anthony, him, us, who else left?
Hoyland's.
Hoyland. I was a bit sad for Hoyland because I don't think it's his fault. I think it was the service and the team. So that one I'm a bit 50-50 on let it go, but I'm not unhappy with Sesko either. Onana, oh thank goodness. I mean, I wanted it to work, but after Grimsby, he had to go. That was a disaster, and two of the goals were his fault. So I think everyone had to go, but I still think we have some people missing. I think there's still some people that need to go. For me, Shaw is one of them. He's been great for us, but he always gets injured, and we can't rely on injury-prone players anymore. And I also have this inkling thing about Dalot and getting a proper wing back, not because he hasn't tried and given effort, but I think he's part of the old regime. There's a lot of players we've been clearing out over the years. I just feel like he's still one of those players where one day he's great, another day he's just making. It's just time to move on with that one. I feel personally.
Daddy Mopa knows ball. That's what the American Devils would certainly put out there, is that Shaw injuries, like you said. I even think he had a couple shady moments in the first few games of the season where we did concede a bunch of goals. He got caught out. He got caught out in the final as well against Bilbao. And Dalot also has that kind of vibe where he's not going to be a Premier League winning right back, in my mind, obviously right wing back. But okay, let's move on to the ownership. Let's talk about Ineos. What are your thoughts? They've been here for like around 2 years, obviously compared to the last regime, the Glazers. The bar was low in terms of looking better than the American crew. But what are your thoughts with Sir Jim and the decisions they made? Ashworth, double down on Ten Hag, bringing in Amorim mid-season. Just give me your thoughts there.
I'm actually 50-50. I know most Man United fans in the last 6 months are like, this is terrible. I'm actually 50-50. So I'm actually for them, pro Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because since they've come, there has been, first of all, more communication in terms of what's going on. We didn't get that with the Glazers. There's been more transparency of this is what we're doing and this is why, again, with the communication. There's been more drastic changes. I'm not all for them, like letting, I don't know how 500 to 800 staff go. I'm not all for that. However, they were doing something. They were drastically making changes to say there's problems here and we're going to do that. And then the biggest one for me, the new stadium. I think that was music to everyone's ears, not just because of the new stadium, because that's going to be what, 5 to 10 years, but because they were serious about making changes. They've done a new training facility over the summer. So for me, I'm actually for them because they're like, you know what, we're making mistakes, but we're trying to make changes and we're communicating and we're being transparent. We didn't have that before. So I'm actually happy. Is his some of his interviews, are they questionable? Like his most recent one saying 3 years from Amram? Absolutely. But is he trying and is he making changes? Yes, he is. So I'm pro. I'm for them.
Yeah, he certainly likes to talk, doesn't he? That's Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I think
Yeah.
he's got thin skin every time the media
Yeah.
or the fans start coming after him. He starts throwing back and throwing punches. I'll tell you one thing they've gotten right, or at least much improved, is that recruitment. I mean, recruitment has buried United over the past decade. The Glazers were terrible at it, and they haven't gotten it all right. But you have to admit, especially last window, I think they knocked it out of the park in terms of the players they went after, the fees they paid, EPL proven for two of those lads in Cunha and Mbumo. And I think, like you said, Cunha is hasn't even shown he's just shown glimpses. That work rate and that kind of outlet that he did at the end of the Liverpool game. I can't wait to see what he comes into. So let's talk about, when you think about your 11, who are your the players, the first of the team sheet, first player that comes to your mind, no matter what, as of today, he's like first player on that 11 in Daddy Mopa's mind.
For me, some people have heard different things with people. You still got to play Bruno Fernandes, but he's being played in the wrong place. He has to play as one of those front three. He shouldn't be playing in the midfield. So for me, it's first Bruno Fernandes. I would question whether he still remains captain. I think some of us are now starting to lean towards Harry Maguire, not because of quality, but because of mentality. I think he's probably shown people what it takes to be resilient in such a bad environment. So Bruno Fernandes, then I would have Mbeumo and Cunha. But I don't know who starts because Mason Mount has just confused us. Because Mason Mount and Mbeumo and Cunha has just terrorized defenses because they move around, they swap sides. Cunha can play up front. Sometimes Mount goes there and Mbeumo. So it's quite confusing for defenses. So right now it's working. So at the moment, I would actually start Mason Mount, Cunha, and Mbeumo over Sesko, even though he scored the 2 goals. But I would probably explore that in the future, seeing who does better. So those are my front three and Bruno. I would then play Bruno. I know Casemiro has been doing well, but it has to be Mainu or Gate. I think I would start Mainu because he just hasn't been given a chance. Because I'm saying Bruno there because I know Amorim is not going to change. So, so the front three, Mason Mount, Cunha, and Mbeumo, Bruno, and try Mainu or Gate, and just have Casemiro play not a full 90 minutes and swap. I would then start Dogu and Ahmad. I'm not a great fan of Dalot in wing backs. I think he's a great professional and he tries, but I just don't feel the qualities there. Dogu still has work to do. He's young. His quality is not there. Sometimes he gets in, makes terrible crosses, but he's a wing back. You can tell that he's a proper player in that position. Then in my back three, I'm doing this on Amorim's system, by the way, but I wouldn't play the system. And then in the back three, definitely Maguire. I would have Euro in there and Dalot. I think Dalot and Maguire have been solid. Euro is one of our most exciting young players, and he's been doing great. I would play him there, and he has some pace. And of course, Lamens at goalkeeper. But just to switch it there a bit, I would not play this system. I would play 4-2-3-1. So I would have Bruno as CAM. That's when you'd either have Cunha or Sesko up front. Or you could have Cunha and Mbeumo like this, Bruno in the middle, and then Sesko there, and have Mason Mount rotate with Bruno. And then you'd have Ogate and Mainu as CM or CDM. And then you have the back four with Dalot, Maguire, or Euro. And then would have to then go invest in proper fullbacks for me. That's how I'd start it. I know people question Ahmad on the bench, but at the moment, I don't feel like he's been having the season he had last year. So I would go with Ahmad on the bench at the moment.
Yeah, he's got players in front of him too. Brian Mbumo, Tejas Cunha, they're hard players to get in front of. Also, it's amazing. 4-2-3-1. You could play all of our best players. There's a spot for Kobe. Bruno gets to play in the 10. You could still play Cunha, Mbumo, Sheshko, Mount. Fuck, you play Mount. Just mix it up. And I'm surprised Lenny Euro hasn't gotten more sniffs, especially because I think Luke Shaw, he had a good game against Liverpool, but I think he's been one of our worst performers season to date. If you take out the goalkeeper, if you take out Bayindir, he has not been that good. So I don't know what's going on there, but I have to agree with you on the 4-2-3-1. I think Abraham's going to stick with it though, right? Especially you think we're turning the corner? I mean, this, like you said, John and I on the pod said the same thing. Brighton is everything. There's been a come down every time we've had a good result. We've crashed to earth, and this is at home against a team that has had our number. They've beaten us 6 of the last appearances, which is insane. What are your thoughts? Are we going to make it happen? Are we going to get a win on Saturday against the Seagulls?
I know you mentioned that there. I even wrote down the stats for myself. So the last time we won at Old Trafford was February 2022.
I know.
I feel we all know he's going to start with his system, but I feel he has to tweak. With Liverpool, he tweaked. He was playing long ball. And what I love is he's not doing the short passes in the goal. He tactically swapped to beat Liverpool. I think we have to respect Brighton and tactically beat them. With every game, he's been going in saying, this is how I play, and this is what it's going to be. With Liverpool as well, what he did, I was watching the analysis, and he was doing the long balls, and they weren't always pressing because when they pressed, they got exposed. So I feel if he tactically adapts to beat Brighton, we will win. If he plays the way he's always been playing before Liverpool, the best we can do is a draw. I honestly think they're going to outplay us. However, 2 back-to-back wins for the first time in a long time. We beat Chelsea and Liverpool. I think we will win, not because of tactics, not because of performance, but because the spirit and the momentum could be with us right now. That's what, and the fans, Old Trafford, I went to watch the Chelsea game in Old Trafford. The energy and backing right now is high. So I think that could be what will carry us through Brighton, but expect chaos. I'm talking about like a 3-2 here. So
I'll take it as long as the home team gets to the 3. You think you run it back just same as before, long balls, fight for the second ball? I mean, it worked really well against Liverpool. You would imagine the same thing with Brighton's going to want to press us high, cause us to make mistakes out of the back. We've seen that movie before time and time again. You run it back, same 11, same tactics, and just try and take it to the Seagulls. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not sure. Dalot did okay. I think I can't fault anybody there. Actually, Bruno Fernandes was making mistakes when he started getting tired in the second half, but he made up for it.
Casemiro got pulled too, right?
Yeah. So there were some moments there where we're like, so you can argue Dalot stays, but I just feel we need to really help Dogu improve in his performance, and we need to give him a chance. But in terms of the spirit and momentum, just go with the same. Let's just keep it going. Let's keep the momentum going. If we win, we would have beaten 2 of our bogey teams and 3 back-to-back wins. That's going to be a whole different world for what we've been experiencing the last 2 years.
We haven't, I mean, it's amazing. You know, we had a couple of bad years even before Eric Ten Hag got sacked. We just haven't gotten a run going in years, you know, in terms of just winning games or not losing games. So even a draw at Old Trafford, I would take, given the fact that they've had our number in recent times. So looking ahead, you know, what is your expectation for the rest of the season? How do you think we're going to finish? Is it going to fall apart? Or are we going to put together a run for Europe light? I don't know. It might not be Champions League. It might not be top 5. But it feels like, given how competitive the league is, you know, if we run our luck, you never know what could happen in terms of like punching up above our weight. Where do you see us finishing at the end of this year?
I need to be careful here because I was seeing a lot of people in my comments saying top 6, let's challenge for top 4. I think we should still be happy with the top 8. I honestly think so because we seem to play differently against the big teams. But when we play teams that are on our level, like Brighton or below, well, I say on our level, maybe they're higher than us. But there's just, I don't know whether Amorim is going to change. We have the players to beat those teams, but will Amorim change the way he plays like he did against Liverpool and Chelsea? That is the question. If he does that, top 6.
Top 6.
Top 6. Top 6. I really believe so. And especially if we beat Tottenham, because they beat us 4 times last year. If we beat Tottenham, top 6.
Don't remind me. That Bilbao, I'll tell you what I got like. I got PTSD just thinking about Big Ange winning that game with less than 1 XG. That was brutal. Keep it on an extra defender. Like, don't remind me. You think we're going to pick up any silverware? Any chance in the FA Cup we can get frisky?
I think it depends on the teams we play against. Um, I also think about timing. I think if we when's the next FA Cup game? I actually haven't checked, but if we've got some soon, we could get a good run. I think we could get to the semis. I honestly do because I feel like we can beat the top teams because he adapts to the top teams. But it's when we meet the small teams. That's what I don't know if Amram can adjust and swallow his pride a bit and just do what it needs to do. I feel we can get to the semifinals. I think we can get top six, but it all depends on Amram. Can you keep doing what you've been doing and tweaking? Because he adapted. If you keep doing that, semifinals, top six. You heard it from me first. Well, I hope you heard it from me first.
I take that in a minute. And Daddy Mopa, last one before I leave you. Tell me about how you became a United fan and who's your favorite all-time Manchester United player.
Oh, my favorite all time. That would be so unfair. It's easy for me to say Ronaldo. It's easy. I really loved Ronaldo, but I would probably. I loved Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs, if it wasn't for Ronaldo, he would be my favorite. And because I watched him playing through the years, and he used to run and twist, and that '98 FA Cup go against Arsenal and stuff, and then to watch him evolve to become the player he did when he was older, and just control the midfield or ball control, make the long balls and scores was gone. He just became my favorite. So I would say Ryan Giggs, but Ronaldo, how can you fault Ronaldo? How I started supporting Man United. Do you play video games?
Oh yeah, I used to at
Uh,
least.
yeah, so when I got a PlayStation in, I think it was 1997, there were these demo games on the PlayStation, and there was something called Power Soccer or something like that. And on the demo, there was Man United. So I lived in Africa at the time. So on TV, you'd see Man United a lot, and you'd see on the Power Soccer, I always used to play with and I like Dwight York and Andy Cole. So because of those two, I was like, I like this team. As a kid, they say, who do you like? And I said a few teams. And I was like, you know what? But I like Andy Cole and Dwight York. So I think they're the ones who actually got me into, and of course Ryan Giggs, you know. So that's how I started, and I wouldn't say I was as big then, but I followed them. I watched the final, the Champions League final, the treble. I watched, but in Africa we couldn't watch all the games. So that's when I started, and it grew after the treble. It grew hard, and I've been a fan since. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but yeah, it's part of me. It's part of who I am. It's my identity. I can never. If I everyone keeps saying change teams, my wife, I'm like, I would rather get relegated. I would actually rather get relegated than change to support another team. It's who I am. I'm a Man United fan. I'm a Red Devil.
True red through and through. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
FIFA 99, actually, same way I got into Manchester United. Video games, who would have thought that? And I'm so glad I did because I would
Yeah.
follow them down to the depths of hell. I don't care if they never win a game again. I'll always be a Manchester United fan. Well, Daddy Mopa, thank you so much for being on the pod. Tell the folks where they could find more of your content and connect with you going forward.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, but most of my football content is on Instagram and TikTok. Hit me up, and yeah, see you on the other side of the phone.
Well, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. And hopefully, we get a big win against Brighton on the weekend. You take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you.